With the release of Stalingrad, Enlisted has finally gotten its 5th campaign. Many of us wanted to see a different campaign besides Stalingrad, but we got Stalingrad for better or for worse. That said, most of the wonderful people in the Enlisted community wanted the Pacific. However, I do have some good news. The Pacific might just be closer than we thought. My name is Napoleon Total. Let's end the intro and let's get started with the video. A few days ago, on March 31st, 2022, we got an April Fool's event. In this news page, we essentially got NFTs and skins for Enlisted. This was obviously an April Fool's prank since Enlisted was pretty confident that they were not going to be adding skins of ridiculous proportions in Enlisted. However, one of the things that I found to be very interesting is the image of a Type 100 SMG. For those who don't know, the Type 100 SMG was a submachine gun used by the Imperial Japanese Army. With that in mind, this is obviously a foreshadowing for the possibility of the next campaign. A lot of people have been talking about a possible French campaign, which is also highly likely. However, the problem with Enlisted right now is another European-focused campaign is just going to be Germany over and over again. Unless we get the Greco-Italian Wars or the Franco-Italian War, we'll be just seeing Germany over and over again. This should be very obvious not only to me, but to everyone, including the developers of Enlisted. Therefore, I believe the Enlisted developers are going to be making the Pacific as we speak. This with the fact that public reaction of Stalingrad, which was not the greatest, to put it mildly, really puts the pressure on the developers at Gaijin and Darkflow to give us the campaign that we really do want. And the only big campaign that we really do want is the Pacific. That said, we are pretty sure that the Pacific is going to be the next campaign, and with the release of the Type 100, we can be almost certain. With that said, I'd like to spend the remainder of this video to talk about my suggestions for the Pacific. Since my last video, which instantly got a lot of views, I did a poll to see what you guys want me to talk about for the next video, and whether I should do part 2 of the Pacific, and this is technically part 2. According to the results, most of you guys wanted me to talk about balancing and naval battles, so let's talk about that right now. Spoiler, for those who haven't watched the first video, I highly suggest that you guys watch it, because if you don't watch it, this is not really going to make sense. Let's get on with balancing. In my last video on the Pacific, which you should watch again, I talked about how the Pacific should really be 2 different campaigns. The progression for the Allies should be really that of Allies Normandy, while the progression of the Axis should be totally different. In my first video, I basically talked about semi-automatics wouldn't work for Japan because historically they didn't even get semi-automatics. Their SMGs, the Type 100, they really are not going to be doing well against the Thompson. Their machine guns are definitely not going to be doing well against the Americans. Their only rifles are bolt-action rifles compared to American M1 Grants and M1 carbines, so that is not going to be working out for Japan. So therefore I suggested that Japan should be really focused on melee or other stuff. What I forgot to add was that the addition of the maps. The maps should also be in favor of the Axis. That means camouflage, jungles, which, let's be honest, historically the Japanese were masters of camouflage, and close quarters engagement. One suggestion is that we make night battles. Now, this occurred very often in the Pacific, and a lot of people have been saying it could hurt the scenery, but with a full moon, I can guarantee you that it's more fun, and it's more interesting. Another thing that will help the Axis should be really outfits and camouflage matching that of the jungles, and that with night battles should really help the Axis a lot. In order to make the balancing even more, we should also give special perks to the Axis. The current perks in Enlisted are very good for every faction as of right now, but for the Axis in the Pacific, we really have to give a different perk system. One example is that some of these perks should be run speed. All Japanese units should have an increased run speed. Another thing that they should get is medic pack usage speed, melee, damage, and vitality. That means more health, quicker medic pack usage, and better stats in melee. The reason why we should be giving these perks and benefits to Japan is because they will straight outright lose in any gunfight. They should not be they're not going to be doing well in a gunfight. Their SMGs are not the best, their rifles once again are not the best, and their bolt actions once again are the only ones that they have. Machine guns cannot compete with the allies, and yeah, you already heard this before. Therefore, without breaking the game and the history, which if Enlisted adds in semi-automatic weapons for Japan, which, by the way, if you haven't watched my last video, there were, notably with the Type 5, then this is just going to make the game unhistorical, because at Okinawa, which is a late war, Japan only had 2 at the island itself. So, not a great idea. Next, we should also be getting naval battles. Last video, I talked about how we should be getting small-scale naval battles, and a corvette and patrol boats. I still believe that Enlisted should be adding this feature. That said, we can have the maps be an island and the patrol boats attacking enemy forces around the island. Heck, we can even have small-scale naval battles screening an amphibious landing. This means that the maps will be bigger and better, and we will have ships. That said, I don't think Enlisted can do anything bigger, in the sense that we will not be getting fleet battles like battleships against cruisers, against aircraft carriers. The reason is simply because that would just take way too many people, and yeah. But I really do believe in patrol boats, smaller ships that are essentially like cars in Enlisted right now. They should be very fun. I hope they should be really fun, and with the maps mostly being ocean surrounding against them as small rivers, hopefully in the islands, we should really be seeing some intense naval combat / naval amphibious combat. That said, once again, I would really like to see these patrol boats Enlisted and the corvettes. With that, I think I'm at a pretty good end to this video. What do you guys think of Enlisted? What do you guys think Enlisted should add in the Pacific? Comments in the video down below, comments in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the battlefield. So don't forget to join the Discord, and while you're at it, subscribe and like to the channel. Now before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I would be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.